What is up, everybody? Beautiful people. It is Thursday night. We got some good stuff to talk about because Trey Lance was throwing today. We got action today. That was good to see. But I'm joined today by two great co-hosts. I got my man Ted. I got my man Ryan. I'm going to let them introduce them. Go ahead, Ted. Take it away.
Thanks. I'm Ted H6 on Twitter, Ted Talks Ball on YouTube. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Roger. Really appreciate it.
Anytime. Ryan?
I am No Crypto, aka Ryan from No Border Sports. And yeah, you see me on YouTube, all that good stuff.
All right.
Usually got a Thursday show with Raj here.
Yep. Well, Thursday nights we've been cooking, so we're going to cook some more with an extra guest. I'm going to put a little intro while we let everybody kind of hop in here.
Spin that shit.
What is up, everybody? Okay, here we go. Let's go. Let's get right to it, ladies and gentlemen. Both of you guys know today, Trey Lance, for the first time publicly, we saw some content of him throwing the ball. Now, it was a small clip. It was whatever. But it did answer some questions for us. He looks like he's got a little bit better in compacted throw. His throwing motion looked a little different. Seemed like his spiral was a little tighter. And the other cool thing about him throwing today was he was training with Patrick Mahomes. To me, that's big time. He's trying to put himself with the best of the best. He's training with an elite quarterback, the best quarterback in the league in my eyes, and he's trying to soak it all up from him, learn from the best. If you want to be successful in something, you go put yourself around with successful people. So today, I was like, wow, he's not just throwing. He's throwing with Patrick Mahomes. So I'm sure he soaked it all up. I'm going to go around. I'm going to start with Ted. What did you think today, seeing Trey Lance throw the ball? Not only that, but seeing him training with Patrick Mahomes today. What was your takeaway?
Wow, that spiral. It was so tight. There was no wobble. Amazing. Like you said, a more compact throwing motion. I think when he first came in, he was throwing really high. And now he's kind of got a more diagonal release, a little bit lower, a little more compact, a little faster. Like I said, great spiral. I think working out with Mahomes, it's so exciting because when Jimmy was going to be our bridge QB, it was sort of like, that's great. What's Jimmy going to teach? Really? He's going to, not a lot of good habits other than sneaking. And, he threw a good slant. I'll give him that. Good first read QB. But, what can you learn from Patrick Mahomes? A ton. I mean, everything. That's the guy. So that's really exciting to me.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah. I just think that not just throwing with him, being able to pick his brain. There's things that, Patrick Mahomes seen that Trey Lance obviously wants to know about. So I'm sure Patrick was like, hey, maybe we should stop talking for a second and throw some passes. I'm sure there's some of that going on because Trey seems like a guy who not only wants to throw the ball, but wants to ask him lots of questions and, to learn.
Yeah.
Do you think this kind of, if there was any thoughts of trading Trey Lance on the draft, does this kind of push those thoughts out of, let's say, some people in the front office's minds?
Yeah, no, again, that's a good question. So I was talking about this actually right before I hopped on here. I was on Instagram and I was talking about how there may be people that are predicting him to be traded. And I'm sure there's people that are calling. I'm sure that there's people that still are predicting it. And yeah, I'm sure this may be traded. I don't necessarily think that this is the moment that are like, nope, we can't trade him. He's trading with Patrick Mahomes. I think it's them knowing he's putting in a lot of work. Like John Lynch said it, Kyle Shanahan said it, that he's working hard. They know he's training every day. He gets a call every day. They see him in the, the workout facility at the 49ers place, and they know he's working. So I know they know his work ethic is intense. But I think for the fans, I think now we realize, oh, wow, he really is grinding. He's working his ass off. It's not that he's just saying it. Now we see it. Obviously, every football player is working. They're grinding. They're putting in the work. To see Trey, though, out there, and you just see the focus. And then after training, after throwing, he posted some videos of him, working out and stuff. So you can just see the hard work and the intensity. So I don't think this changes that. If there's a team that calls them up and says, yo, we're giving you X, Y, Z, B, T, F for Trey Lance, they're going to do it because it's such a value. But I don't necessarily think that him trading with Mahomes is going to change that. But I think it does make the fans realize, like, yo, Trey's coming for action. Someone else in the comments already said this is do or die for him. Like, Trey knows it. To see him out there working and putting in this work with a guy like Patrick Mahomes should tell the fan base what he's all about. He knows people are doubting him. He sees the Twitter headlines. He sees the drama. He said it himself a couple of weeks ago that, hey, I don't want this job handed to me. I want to go out and compete. I got Sam Darnold to compete. Okay, let me go talk to Patrick Mahomes and make sure I can go beat the Sam Darnold guy so I can get my fair opportunity on this team. I don't think they trade him. I think there's a possibility still, but this to me doesn't change that. I don't know. What do you think about that, Ted?
Oh, you're muted, Ted.
Thank you. Yeah, I never thought Trey was going to be traded. I think people have figured out that, there's a couple ways to really fire up this fan base. One is to say negative things about Trey, and the other is to say positive things about Mac Jones, and we've seen both of that in the last week or so. So, I know Larry Kruger's been saying a lot about it.
Fuck.
And I respect the hell out of Larry. He's a great guy, great opinions on a lot of things, but on this one, I think he's wrong. I think he knows that this is going to get him ratings. It's going to get him clicks. It's going to get him views. And I think that's why he's doing it. Personally, I don't think he actually, I guess you could say from what the 49ers have said that, you could read the tea leaves into that, but I don't see the 49ers doing it. It would be such a colossal mistake. He doesn't have much trade value right now to buy so high and sell so low. It would be such a big black eye for the organization just as is. And then if he goes out and turns into what we think he can, and Purdy has problems, or Purdy just turns out to be a little bit limited and not the guy who can get us there all the way what we need, it'd probably be the end for Kyle and John. Honestly.
Yeah. So to dovetail off that, though, and that's a good point. So, I feel like there's a few things you got to look into this with trading Trey. Like, I definitely think like it's trading anybody on the team is a possibility because, like they said, we're always looking to improve our team, and the tea leaves. And I talk to Larry every week, and it was a prediction that he sees based on what's going on. And I don't think it's a bad prediction, but there's a couple of things that I think is, and there's a few people in the chat that asked the question: will Brock Purdy's arm, his throwing, will his ability be the same? It's a big question mark. So if you don't know if he's going to be 100%, you absolutely hope Trey Lance could come in and be that guy that you thought he was in the third round, right, with the number 3 pick. So you're hoping he hits that ceiling because Brock Purdy's not a guarantee right now. We don't know. We want him to be because what he did last year. So you got to keep Trey for that. I think one thing you said, Ted, was the value of Trey Lance. Yeah, we don't know what his value is right now. We don't know. We don't. Like, he could be a late first round. He could be a second. He could be a third. We don't know. He hasn't really played. And then you got to look at other teams looking at it and saying, is he better than any of these rookie quarterbacks? Like, you have to look and kind of predict their draft boards. Like, what would a team like Tennessee, what would a team like Houston have Trey on their draft board? If he's maybe the 6th best quarterback on their board, is that a first-round pick? Probably not. So there's a lot of intangibles with going into Trey. And I think the 49ers, they know they gave up a lot of capital. This is his chance. He's proving that he wants to work. Give him his opportunity. I don't know. What do you think about that, Ryan?
Well, first, I want to go into Larry's point on why he thinks the 49ers are going to trade Trey Lance, because they love him a lot and they think and then they're in a win now team and they don't have time to develop him. Same could be said for Kyle Shanahan. You know what I'm saying? Can you show me how he's been able to get to the top? We've seen him get to the same spot over and over again. We haven't seen him get over the top of it. So who's to say he's developed enough to get there? So with the same talk, like, get out of here, Larry. You're just trying to pump a narrative, and it happens every year. I had to think back to last year. I was like, all this stuff is coming out of blue. This stuff is irresponsible. Like, my homeboy, shout out to Joe Stevens. He's a Seahawks content creator. Who was it? Jadeveon Clowney was rumored to coming to the Seahawks for like the 4th straight year in a row. And it's always like around the first week of August is when this thing comes out. So these people in the media, this is their normal thing. This time of the year when there's nothing, you're smart if you make up something that gets taken as, truth or a rumor, you know what I mean? When it's just opinion. And I think that's how they do business. And I think it's horrible because there's no reason to be doing all this. It just gets people's emotions all up in arms for nothing.
Well, they call it lying season for a reason.
It is.
Yeah, smoke season, man. It is, and there's just so many rumors, and we had rumors all weekend.
Hey, I got a hot take. Joe Staley is coming out of retirement to play right tackle.
Can you imagine? I love it.
Look, I've got a really good feeling. I've been covering the 49ers since I've been alive, and I could tell you that without a doubt, Joe Staley's coming back, guys. We're good.
Per source. Let me tweet it out. I'm gonna.
Yep.
Per source. Joe Staley.
Crypto Ryan.
I wish, but you're right. It's smoke season. We like this weekend was so full of rumors. It was absolutely crazy. That's why today seeing Trey Lance out there, it was like, we don't need these damn Aaron Rodgers. We don't need these Kirk Cousins. Like, I love those. I think they're great players. Like, obviously this team would probably win a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers, but it's just not realistic. They have Trey Lance. He's out there working his ass off and going out there with Patrick Mahomes, trying to show the fan base, like, I'm trying to win this job. Like, I'm not a slouch. I want my opportunity. And again, with Brock Purdy, we don't know if he's going to be 100%. And again, there's another question that T Money had earlier in the comments. Will this injury affect Trey Lance's mobility? It didn't look like it today. I mean, obviously it's a small glimpse, but he looks like he's putting in the work to make sure he can be the same guy he was before this injury, at the very least. So, and again, he's 22 years old. I think he's going to come back from this injury so much stronger than ever before. Like, I am.
Well, for him to really suffer from this injury, it would have had to fuse back wrong, wouldn't you think? And cut down his range of motion. Yeah. So to me, unless the doctors are really bad, or if it was more like ligaments and stuff like that, then scar tissue could be an issue. But even then, they're pretty good with like getting in there without touching things that they don't have to, because they know about scar tissue, and you can't get rid of scar tissue. So like, I don't really see him being this young, this being an issue. This is the first time anybody's gone in there. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't see it being an issue.
No, 100%. And again, he's 22, and they already had to go in for that second time to make sure they correct that issue there was, so there wouldn't be any future issues. So I don't think there's any issues with his mobility. I don't think there will be, at least. I'm going to shift gears now. We did talk about some rumors. There's a question here by Fernando. He says, do you feel like the Rodgers story is real or just more media smoke? I think we all think it's smoke. But Ted, what was your overall take on the Aaron Rodgers to the 40? I mean, that came out and people were like, oh, it seems like people circle this story every 3-4 months. I don't know. What do you think?
I think until we have our quarterback situation sorted, every available quarterback is going to be linked to us. I think it's just buckle up and get ready. It's just going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. I mean, the one thing I will say is I didn't realize that his cap hit was so low for 2023. I still don't want to trade for him because I think it's a 1-year rental. But I think it was something like 16 mil, which is, I mean, it's a lot for us, but not undoable compared to, like, I don't know, whatever Kirk Cousins is quite a bit more. I think it's 30 mil. So
if the Jets can't come up with enough capital to get Aaron Rodgers, then how the hell are we in the NFC going to be able to? We're going to have to pay more than what the Jets have, or what the Jets were trying to give up. This makes no sense whatsoever. I don't think you think that. Oh my gosh. If they were to give us Aaron Rodgers, that's what it would be. We could give away our whole draft class, all 11 picks this year, and it would just give us a Super Bowl. I'm sorry. I don't think Kyle would necessarily want an Aaron Rodgers in his system, because Aaron Rodgers is a star. Aaron Rodgers can make his own choices on the field at any moment in time. He's really smart like that. And not, be crucified for it, because it usually comes out right. But I think he would see this guy can operate my offense probably better than anybody in the league with what he's got between his ears. You know what I mean? And the talent he's got in his arm. So I think, if you were, I'm thinking it's back-to-back Super Bowls if you were to bring in Aaron Rodgers. As long as you can make sure that you can keep Brandon Ayuk, I'm pretty sure you might be able to run it back.
So then if you get Aaron Rodgers, would you be able to keep Brandon Ayuk? That's a legit question. I don't
This
think you
year.
can
This year.
this year, so you probably
This
can
year.
next year.
Yeah, I don't know. You
Well,
you
he'll
might
be
be
on the
able to
fifth year option
you,
next year,
you
so you
might
got
be
him
able
for
to
2
move other
years.
people around. Like you might be able to trade somebody else who's going for more after a Super Bowl run. You know what I mean? As high as more draft capital. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know.
I
I'm
mean,
not
to
trying
me,
to mention any name.
what it boils down to, and this is the question. This is kind of what I wanted to ask, and this is what Carl says. This is a great question. He goes, the biggest question is, do we have a franchise quarterback? So if Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch don't think that Trey Lance or Brock Purdy could be a franchise quarterback, then yeah, that's absolutely something they need to consider. Because to me, the quarterback that wins a Super Bowl with the 49ers, whether it be Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, to me, Kyle Shanahan's going to keep that guy along, or at least hope that he stays healthy to keep him along to be the guy down the stretch. I mean, they kept Jimmy for several years because they felt he was going to be the franchise. I mean, they called him the franchise, right? I think that whoever seizes control this year, and if they can take this team to the Super Bowl, that could be their guy. That could be their franchise. But do we actually have a franchise? Is Brock Purdy a franchise quarterback? Is Trey Lance a franchise quarterback? I don't know. What do you think, Ted?
I mean, Brock Purdy is the closest thing we've seen to it in the Shanahan tenure here with the Niners. Yeah. But we don't know about his arm. We don't know when he'll be back to, if he'll be back to 100% or when. It seems like early in the season might make sense. But the whole thing with Kyle is really strange, where he says week 1 to week 4, and then he says 6 to 8 months, and 8 months is November 10th. Which is, week 10, not week 4. So that's a big discrepancy. Lance has not proven that he's a franchise QB, but, I have very little doubts that he will be if he gets the experience. It's just, can we give him the experience before we have to go back to something we know works, which is Purdy once he's healthy, which definitely sounds like that's the plan.
What do you think, Ryan?
I don't know if we don't know. There's no until we see something consistent for a season or two. This is where we're at. We're in limbo.
Yeah, and that's the hard part. And I feel like that's why there's so much like discourse. There's so much people that say do this, because nobody knows. So everybody thinks they have the answer. I mean, Kyle and John hopefully know what they have. They have the answer. They know more than us, obviously. But fans and content creators and everybody out here, media, they're going to go and sit here and say, we need to do this. They need to do this. Because everybody thinks they know what's best for this team. At the end of the day, we all think we know what's best for this team because we all value our own opinion. So until you're absolutely right. Until one of these guys goes out there and wins it all, we will not know. I mean, we could sit here until we're blue in the face and say Trey Lance has a higher ceiling. He has a super athletic ability as a quarterback. He's going to be the guy. He's so good. That's why they drafted him. Or we can sit here and say, well, Brock Purdy took this team to the NFC Championship. He was a leader. He was so poised. He's got that dog. And I'm like, that's the guy. We don't know. We don't know. There's things that we do know right now is Brock Purdy is injured and he is recovering from surgery. There's another thing we know is Trey Lance. He broke his ankle last year, and he's also recovering and trying to get back to form. Those are the two things we absolutely know. And we know that Sam Darnold's going to be there to challenge whoever the hell is thrown out there. So that's what we know. But do we know if any of those guys will be the franchise quarterback? Right now, we don't, man. And that's a tough question because in order to win a Super Bowl, you need to figure out that quarterback position. So I think we have 3 capable guys, but they got to stay healthy. And then that brings us to the O-line is, did they do enough to make sure this offensive line is intact to keep these quarterbacks healthy? Do you guys think that they did enough this offseason yet, or will they do more in the draft? Obviously, the draft's coming up, so the offseason's not done. But do you feel content with the O-line? I'll go with you, Ted. Do you feel content with this O-line yet?
Everything but right tackle. Even right guard. We had Brunskill on a rotation with Burford. So Brunskill's gone. I guess, Feliciano can maybe take that role back or maybe take right guard completely. Maybe move Burford out to right tackle, or they're talking about McKivitz. The thing about McKivitz is we're paying him 2 years, $4.5 million. So 2.25 per season. That just doesn't scream starter to me. And I don't think if he was, his agent would ever settle for a number that low. So I think we're going to draft a right tackle in the draft. I think we'll move up. We may even pull picks from 2024 to do it. But I think we'll move up for a right tackle in the draft. I think that's priority number one. I also want to see safety, and I also want to see what else? Those are the two big ones. Oh, tight end too. As my third biggest priority.
Ryan, what say you?
I don't think we're really moving up for a tackle. I think our starter is probably already on the team at this moment. Just because now they could use some capital from next year and to try and move up and to get a guy. But even then, like the one offensive lineman they drafted knowing that they were going to start that year was Mike McGlinchey, and it was in the first round. Burford was a happy, a surprise. That's not something that they wanted. That's not something that they were expecting. So for the 49ers to move up to like the second round, I don't even think that guy would be the one they're planning on starting the season with. I think that would be the guy that they want to get to sit behind somebody for a year. But I don't think that's because, like, look at what Mike McGlinchey had to do to start the first year. He had to pretty much get bunk beds in Joe Staley's house and, be his best friend forever. You know what I mean? Just to figure out the offense. And he worked. But who says that the guy they're going to draft is going to do the same thing? Who's to say that there's a guy like Joe Staley will let some guy crash at his house and teach him everything he knows while he's doing it?
It would have to be Trent Williams. Yeah, they could have to. Yeah.
And I don't know. Trent seems like a nice guy, but he probably wants his space, especially somebody he don't really know like that. You know what I mean? Like Debo, you could come over and kick it for a couple nights, Debo, but you're gonna leave after that, bro. You ain't staying longer. You know what I mean?
And last year with Trent, he reached I know Burford and Jason Poe. I know they trained with him, but that was it. All right, y'all can hang along with the GOAT. You can come and watch me train. But I talked to Burford. He was like, bro, his training was on a different level. He's like, he trains at night, and his whole time zone, he does things so regimented. I couldn't even keep up with him. So if these young bucks want to keep up with a guy like Trent Williams, I got a whole nother world coming from. So it's his training's so different. So you're right. I don't know if they're going to find a guy that could come in and be able to do that. But at the same time, I do think you guys are right that, I think Colton McKivitz is the guy they're hoping to be the right tackle because they're going to save money. Saving a lot of money, like Ted said. But everybody smashed McGlinchey last year. If McKivitz isn't better than McGlinchey, we got some issues with. And that's, to me, why I keep saying is this right? Is this offensive line where it needs to be? I don't know. Colton McKivitz, Malkovich, whatever you want to call him, he's the X factor to me on this line. Like I believe that Banks will get better this year.
I'm telling you, it's Pryor, bro.
Yeah, he's.
We were talking last week. We were talking last week how they might be switching the offense to more of a power run game, and I said that Colton McKivitz overnight goes from tackle to guard in a power run scheme. So, you know what I mean? I think it's Pryor. Pryor's going to be the guy out there as the right tackle. Either that or Burford's moving up. And like Feliciano will be moving into guard.
Wow. Okay. So no Colton McKivitz. Ted, do you think Colton McKivitz will be our right tackle?
I mean, maybe to start the season, but I think the guy we draft will take over at some point. I don't think he'll have to sit for a full year before he gets to play. McKivitz is a pretty decent pass blocker. I just don't think his run blocking is anywhere near what Kyle likes. He can't get to the second level. He's not athletic. So.
Oh, well, I mean, if his pass blocking is better, I guess that's a good thing because that's what the issue was last year. It was like, oh, well, the run blocking is good, but we don't have good pass blocking. So now you're going to flip the script. Again, big X factor. If Colton McKivitz has a good season and he's like a great player for us, that's going to look like one massive W for the 49ers. And I think that's what they're banking on is they're like, listen, we got these guys coming up. We do this every year. We bring them up the system. Brendel was on the team for a bit, and then he finally got his opportunity. And he became, a starter. And I think that's what they're banking on. But I do think that this competition has only begun. And I think when we talk about the quarterback competition, this offensive line competition is going to be spicy in the training camp. I really do think this might be the most competitive spot on this team. Quarterback's one, but I think this offensive line, specifically that right tackle spot, it's going to get interesting in training camp. I'm excited for it. Yeah, no, but that
Do you
to me
see
definitely.
do you see Young Montana's post here?
What do you say? What do you say?
Somebody bet $20,000 to win $800,000 on the Raiders to win the Super Bowl.
No way. Someone bet $20K to win 800,000 on the Raiders. Wow, that's wild. They're not even gonna make the playoffs.
Oh! That should be a payout on like a $10 bet.
Oh my God, they're not even gonna
You know
make
what
the
I'm saying?
playoffs. That's crazy. They're just throwing away their money. If they want to give out $200,000, please give me that money or 20.
No, it was 20,000.
20,000.
Yeah.
If they want to give away 20K, you give it to me. I'll take it gladly off your hands.
Oh,
Wow.
donate that to charity next time. You'll probably feel better.
Yo, my God.
You know what I'm saying?
That's crazy.
Jimmy
That's an
against
automatic
Mahomes, Herbert, and Russ Wilson. Good luck.
Bro.
With that defense.
Jimmy G. And Jimmy G.
But he wins games, guys. He's gonna
He
win
wins
games.
the
All
game.
he does is win, Raj. All he does is win.
No matter what. Win, no matter what.
Wow. That's crazy. Speaking of Jimmy Garoppolo and the Raiders, the 49ers will be having joint practices. Those were the reports last week. I know I didn't get to talk to you guys about this, but what did you guys think? The Raiders, Niners, joint practice, obviously it's preseason. It doesn't matter. But, I mean, that week, there's going to be so much stuff going on Twitter. I could already see the Jimmy Garoppolo memes. And, man, that's going to be fun times. I'm actually excited for that. I want to go to that joint practice. And hopefully, I might try to show up for that preseason game. It's preseason, but I'm actually really excited for this preseason game because of that. What do you think?
You trying to see how many interceptions Fred Warner gets?
Yeah, right?
You go have a
the over.
six-piece. You go have a
Bet the over.
six-piece.
You got the over, Ted?
Yeah.
Ted's
Might
got
be
the
smart.
over.
Remember when Fred Warner picked him off like, 5 times in training camp or something?
Oh, my God.
That was insane, dude. That was insane.
That was 2019.
They might do it again.
Look, I understand throwing the second one, trying to make sure, trying to, force it, this and that. But the third, fourth, and fifth, come on, bruh. You need to figure that one out. Go to a different receiver. You know what I'm saying? Something. You did not learn a lesson whatsoever.
Oh my God. Bosa sacking Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy, he wouldn't do it. I don't think he'd do it. I don't think he'd sit back. I don't think he's gonna do it.
Hargrave would.
Oh,
I think
Hargrave
Bosa
put him
would do
down
it.
in the mud.
Do you think Bosa would not get a sack for Jimmy Garoppolo?
I don't know. We're gonna find out, right? We'll see.
Do you think Nick and Jimmy were that tight?
They seem like they were dogs, man. They were tight.
Really?
From what I know,
Yeah.
I think they
Bosa,
were really close. Yeah.
Kittle, McGlinchey, Juice, McCaffrey. Yeah, all those guys would have his back. Hey, did you guys see the thing that Akash Abernathan put out about Hargrave, about how we're paying him 6.4 in cap this season, and the Eagles are paying him over 12, almost double.
Oh wow! Are you kidding me?
Did Lombardi tweet that like 20 minutes later without giving him credit?
Probably. That was the other one that people were talking about recently. But
yeah.
Let me see. Let me pull this up.
Oh, I think that's funny.
It was pretty eye-opening.
Wow. That's crazy. They're paying. Yeah, here it is. Javon Hargrave accounts for less on the 49ers salary cap, $6.4 million, than he does on the Eagles salary cap, $11.95 million. The Eagles are paying Hargrave more this season against the cap than the 49ers. That's crazy, man. That is. So we took their player in free agency, and they're paying him double to be on our team. Now that is a John Lynch, Parag Marathe master class. That is a absolute master class. That is. Are you kidding
Bellissimo.
me?
Bellissima.
Wow.
I thought you guys would like that.
Wow. That's crazy.
Bellissima.
My mind is shook. My mind is shook right now. Wow.
Now I've got that as one of the banners on my StreamYard, and but I do
man.
have Akash on there credited with the tweet because I copied it word for word.
Yeah.
So he is on there with like little stars to denotate credit due. So.
Shout out to Akash for that little nugget there, man. That's good stuff. He always pulls up those little interesting nuggets, man. That is crazy. We're getting a guy from a team who's still paying for him. Like, that is the ultimate dub. Like, this free agency pick, it got better every day. It gets better every day.
Hey, if he gets a sack against Jalen Hurts, that's going to be. You guys paid for 2/3 of that. You guys paid for 2/3 of that.
Oh, man. That is so classic, man. Wow. I didn't know that. Thanks for bringing that up. I
just hope they don't draft Bijan. That's all at number 10, because I think he'll be gone by the time they pick again. But
yeah, you could be right. It's gonna be interesting. I can't wait for the draft. I'm excited for this draft next. Less than a month, man. And again, the rumors are rampant. We talked about Trey Lance and everything, but as we saw today, and we, going back to him throwing and being with Patrick Mahomes, like, what do you think, Trey? Do you think? What's my question? So, going back to going in and training with Patrick Mahomes, like, what would you, if you're Trey Lance, what would you ask Patrick Mahomes going into working with him, working alongside? Obviously, you're gonna get some technique down and you're gonna learn some basic motions and maybe reading defense. But what would you ultimately want to take away? Ryan, I'll start with you first. What would you want to ask Patrick Mahomes if you're training with him?
I don't know. I don't know where Trey Lance is at. You know what I'm saying?
I want him to ask, how do I get Kyle to call the same plays for me as he does for Jimmy and Purdy?
Fuck. Right. Hey, Patrick Mahomes, how do I get Kyle to give me the Jimmy offense instead of the Lamar Lanson offense?
Run it up the middle. But
I don't know. Someone says, teach me the no-look pass. Honestly, I like what Flood says. I would say, look, man, how do you keep your body able to do everything you do and still be able to play through the season? Because Patrick Mahomes is a warrior, man. Like, this guy, that's the biggest thing in the NFL these days, especially at quarterback, is you need to have longevity. You need to be able to stay upright. And Patrick is running. He's running for his life. He's able to have mobility and throw on the run. And, he had the ankle issue, but he was able to come back. Like, what is your secret, man? Like, how are you able to stay so healthy?
I don't know how he was able to play with that. Just seeing the pain he was in, because I was a student athletic trainer in high school. So I kind of have a little bit of knowing what certain injuries are. I've had certain injuries, you know what I mean? Like, I know what pain is, this and that, whatnot. And it seems to me like when he was limping and barely able to walk, and he comes out, he said there was no drugs, but it didn't take any meds, but I'm pretty sure he must have had to take something. There was a real difference in his play. You know what I mean? And you don't do that with, like, I got a broken rib right now. Right. And I could talk like this, this and that. When I cough, you're going to tell, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, see, that hurt a little bit laughing, but, yeah, stuff like that's going to hurt. But, like, I could get through my day like this. But if I'm getting, rib shotted while I'm playing football, that's going to be a little different.
Yeah, it's a good way to think.
Yeah, and Mahomes is legendary for that. I mean, it's like not just this time with the ankle, it's throughout his entire career. He has played hurt / injured and just gutted it out and found a way to keep going. I think he's kind of just a unicorn. I don't know that that's something you can just teach to somebody. I think some of it is physiological, genetic, maybe.
Yeah.
It's good genes.
I think so. I mean, that's part of it is training genes. Maybe that's part of it. Randy says, injuries are out of your control. Just random luck. Like, yeah, sometimes it is just out of your control. You get injuries just happen. But I mean, sometimes, man, like, just the way you prepare yourself in the off season may help you withstand some hits that you normally wouldn't. So hopefully he's taken away a little bit of what Patrick Mahomes does to train his body, because there's certain athletes that train a little differently, and you can see the results are there on how they train. Like, some people spend millions of dollars on training their body and they never get hurt. So maybe that is a part of it. Obviously, genetics, like, your body's predisposed to how it's going to be, as you grow up and your genes and stuff. I would love for Trey to just ask him and be like, dude, what do I need to do to just take over this locker room? Because Patrick Mahomes, he came in, I feel like that's the question, because he was, he came in, he had to wait his turn. He comes in, Alex Smith. Obviously, Alex Smith, he's not like the greatest in the world, but he still was a well-respected quarterback. He was taking this team to the Super Bowl, and then obviously Mahomes came in and he won games and stuff. But I would ask him, like, look, man, what do I need to do to show this team that I'm the alpha, I'm the dog? Because right now, he needs to prove that he's the quarterback on the field. And everything that Kyle said, everything that Lynch said was, hey, look, Brock's our guy. He won games. Trey Lance obviously has to come out and win games, but there has to also be like this swagger that he has to carry himself. For Patrick Mahomes, you see him and you're like, man, that's fucking Patrick Mahomes. Brock Purdy, we kind of felt that vibe last year. It was like, he's got that dog, you know? It's like, oh, he's telling Trent Williams to shut up. He's commanding the offense. Like, I would just pick everything out of Patrick Mahomes' mind as I could, man. That's me. If I'm Trey Lance, I'm learning. I'm a sponge and I'm absorbing it all.
Absolutely. Bash is bashing me in the comments. He's reminding me of Game Recognized Game because I quoted it as a sports reference, and he was the one who let me know, hey Ted, that was actually hip hop before sports, and so good knowledge on Bash there.
Yeah, Game Recognized Game. That is. What up, my boy Bash, 49er minded. Yeah, man. It definitely is a good dude, man. Bash is a good guy, man. He's always got our backs. He's a good Niner content creator. He's been. I've known him for many years, actually. Cool dude.
Yeah, he had a great mock draft last night with Javi. If you guys haven't checked it out,
yeah, man, I saw part of it. That's just pretty cool. Like Javi, way back, 4th and Goal podcast. He goes way back for 49ers.
Yeah, Javi nailed it. I will say he had some deep draft knowledge. And like Javi and I, sometimes we have our differences, but like, if someone does good work, I'm going to give them credit, regardless of like, personal beefs or things like that. So
see, I'm petty. I won't do that.
No.
Oh, I'm petty. But
I'm petty on the timeline. But hey, when it comes to this stuff, if somebody puts out a good show, I'm going to say it's a good show. I'm glad I watched it because there were some big guys going up at the same time. I won't say who, and I was like, no, I'm gonna watch Bash, my guy Bash and Javi, and I'm really glad I did.
Nice, man. Yeah, Javi got some. He can make some big draft pulls. He studies that draft well. I haven't studied as much as I usually did. I used to be like so heavy into the draft, man, but as these last few years have come in with me working so much, like I just don't focus on it anymore. But I remember, and I used to talk to Javi a lot, like breaking down the draft and stuff. Like he can tell you every freaking process. I'm like, God, man, that guy knows his game, man. College game is crazy. So shout out to Javi out there.
He rocked it last night.
It's good when content creators are coming together like us here, and we respect each other, but that timeline has been bumping. It is not always a nice place. 49ers Twitter can be a landmine. So it's nice to see people coming together and putting things aside. And
speaking of coming together.
Wait, I don't know what Raj is talking about. I haven't seen a thing on the timeline. It seems like rainbows and unicorns out there.
Oh, is it?
Speaking of people coming together, did everybody see how wonderful it was for George Kittle to shit on Rob Stats Guerrera?
Oh my God.
It was amazing.
Crazy.
Rob comes in trying to be like, George Kittle, you're my favorite player ever. And George is like, oh yeah, that's cool, guy, with a tweet of Rob Stats saying George Kittle won't finish out his contract with the 49ers. Oh, it was so great. And it's hilarious.
Stuff.
Like he is like, if you go throughout the thread, he is like silent. He's not saying anything. There was one guy in there talking about it. There was one guy in there talking about his podcast and him being fired, right? So he comes back and he's like, yeah, well, it was like 2.7 million downloads. And I was like, yeah, you got 2.7 million downloads, but not a single like.
Oh man. So we'll go backtrack for people. So this was big news of the day actually on the timeline, because so first off, obviously it was Trey Lance was the video, right? He got his video posted by everybody out there. So George Kittle, he liked the video, and the person that tweeted it basically was like, this is actually kind of big news, because what happened during the offseason was Kittle said, the stuff about Purdy, and a lot of people last year were saying George Kittle doesn't respect Trey Lance. He doesn't want him to be the quarterback. So I think it was Coach Yak. He posted this, and he said, look, it looks like George Kittle likes what he sees from the quarterback, which going back to old, comments of people saying Trey Lance and Kittle, they don't see eye to eye, or Kittle doesn't support Trey Lance. this is him liking a video of Trey Lance working. So it's like, oh, he does support him. So then George Kittle says, he, laughing emoji, all you guys going through likes for this stuff, like it's funny. He posts a Spaceballs meme, like he's like making it a joke. And then Yak says, had to do it, brother. And no, I didn't go through likes. Got it through my notifications. So then Rob's stats, what did he do? He came in and he says, a new respect for you. This is to Kittle after the Spaceballs gif. Like, oh, new respect. So then Kittle, under his tweet, he goes, for sure, man. With the Shaka sign. And then he posted the tweet of saying George Kittle won't finish his contract with the 49ers. And now it is just so.
But they don't pay attention to what we say on there, guys. They don't pay attention at all.
It was a mic drop. He was like, yep, you don't even want me on this team, so don't even come and talk to me, dude. Like, it was like, wow. You gotta love the timeline, man. That's good stuff, man. I was like, wow. The whole 49 Twitter's like, oh, he cooked him from the top rope. I came in, I was like, oh, welcome to 49ers Twitter with Michael Jackson eating the popcorn, and that was a fun moment, man. It was good to see that instead of quarterback drama for once.
To be fair, though, you can say that you don't think Kittle's going to finish out his contract as a Niner and still want him to finish out his contract as a Niner, right?
I mean, that's true.
So you would have to look at other tweets to know where his mind is on that type of thing.
We know what kind of a miserable person Rob is, so I'm sure it wasn't coming from a good place.
I mean, he's notorious for saying, a lot of, I wouldn't say
stuff about Lance,
some negative things, and saying, oh, they're going to trade Kittle. We don't need Kittle. Like, he's said, like, we don't want Kittle. We don't need it. They should trade him or whatnot. And Kittle knows it. Like, he sees the stuff on the timeline. Like, these guys, these players, even if they don't say nothing, even if they don't comment nothing, they see everything we post. And they're like, all right, let me. Because they'll keep the receipt. Debo is so notorious. He doesn't say anything all week. And then as soon as he proves himself or he makes that person that said something look stupid, he'll make you look like an idiot. And they keep the receipts. So, you got to love it when the players come at you and they absolutely cook. Because it makes people that sit here and get mad. And they're like, oh, yeah, Kittle's this, Kittle's that. Because there's a lot of people that trash on Kittle because of the injuries. And when this stuff happens, it's like, that is why I love George Kittle, man. He stands up for his own, and he doesn't take any nonsense from people, man. Love it.
The reason why I mentioned it is because for a long time I was going at it with stats about stuff he was saying about Lance. And then after a while, I was kind of like, oh, maybe he's not saying he wants the 49ers to be mean to Lance, but he's just saying, this is what I'm reading them saying, and this is what it sounds like to me, more than like trashing him, I guess. So I don't know if you guys got that same impression or not regarding Trey Lance and stats.
Go ahead, Ryan.
I don't get much of a good impression from stats. That's all I know.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough. No, I think that's a fair take to say. But I mean, I feel like just a lot of people in the media, especially in 49ers media, don't give Lance a fair chance. Like we talked about this weeks ago. I think me and Ryan talked about this. Is Trey Lance just gets a lot of hate. He just gets a lot of hate on the timeline. I think me and you, Ted, have talked about this too. Is why does he get a lot of hate? Why do people hate the guy? Is it because they gave up all the all the picks and he hasn't done anything yet? Is it because they just think he's trash? Like, what has he done? What has he said? Like, I don't think he's done anything to warrant the hate. But then the fan base, we're starving for a championship, and maybe they don't think that he can because he still needs to develop. But
no, people were against Trey coming in from the start, okay? And then all of a sudden, Trey goes down, Jimmy goes down. Everybody's happy when Jimmy came back, okay? Then Brock Purdy comes back. Everybody's happy about Brock Purdy. They don't care, Jimmy this. They're happy with Brock Purdy. There's a common theme there. There is a common theme, and no one likes to touch on it because it's awkward. But I have a feeling it's because Trey Lance is a black man, half black man. I don't see the same energy towards Jimmy or Brock Purdy, and both of them don't have the same natural talent that that Trey Lance has. You know what I'm saying? To me, it doesn't make any sense. If anything, you should be pointing down on the people who are essentially already hit their peak. You know what I mean? Like Jimmy. Brock Purdy with that arm. Your arm doesn't get stronger, over time normally. Now, not to say that his arm can't get stronger. I'm just saying that that's usually not a thing. At a certain point, you've hit your peak and you're going down. So, like, he's not starting from a great spot either. Why all of a sudden does he have the automatic red carpet? It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, that's a good point. What do you think, Ted, on that? I'll speak.
I think absolutely. I've had a lot of these arguments, and I think arguing with some of those people, the Lance haters, it became very clear that was part of their motivation. They couldn't name anything on the field or whatnot, and then you look at some of their other tweets, and you're like, oh yeah, these people, they're
there's a common denominator.
There is no doubt about it.
I don't think that everybody is, but I do think that to an extent, and it's sad.
No, not everyone.
That it is to that, but I mean, it's even though people say, "Oh, it's 2023."
The ones that it's a knee-jerk reaction. The ones that it's a knee-jerk reaction. That's what it's from.
Yeah, it's
or that are calling him a bust after 4 games. You can't call someone a bust after 4 games. No highly drafted QB has ever been called a bust with less than 20 starts. So that's just the way it is.
It's unfortunate, and I do think, like I said, to an extent, that there probably is some racial stuff going on, and it sucks. But and real quick, because a lot of people would say like, oh well, it's 2023. It doesn't. No, it's not racism anymore. It's 2023, and absolutely, that stuff still permeates through our society, and it's ugly. Like, I'm Indian, I get it all the time. I get racially. You should see my DMs sometimes. I'm like, whoa, chill out. But it's sad, man. Go ahead, go back to what you were saying there.
Well, I was going to back up real quick to a thing with Stats Guerrera, and give him at least a shout out that I was pretty impressed by, which was that Kay Adams quote tweeted him when the Rodgers thing surfaced. I quote tweeted it and I said, please no. And then like a couple hours, he quote tweeted and said, God no. And then Kay Adams, quote tweeted him. And I was like, and she was saying something about how, we should be wanting Rodgers. And I was like, hey, Kay, I agree with Rob, or I guess he agrees with me. And I put my tweet in there because I had said it 2 hours before him. Not that, he reads my tweets or anything, but you never know. But I had to give him a little shine there. I think she had him on Good Morning Football one time or something like that.
I feel sorry for her. She's too nice to have that happen to her.
I'm a big fan of Kay Adams for sure.
Yeah,
I know. That's why I think it's unfortunate that she had to do her all that.
Her and Mina Kimes are my 2 faves for sure.
Good, man. I like Kay Adams. One time on my Instagram, I think she hopped on my page. I was trying to get her on. I was like, man, hop on, Kay. But she follows me on Instagram. She likes my stuff. So maybe one day we get Kay Adams on here. I don't know. We'll see. She's cool.
You know who I want to talk to? Is it Marissa Thompson? Who's the lady on Sunday Night Football? The tall lady.
Carissa Thompson.
Carissa.
Carissa. Ooh. She's tall. She got these powerful thighs up at the top. You know what I'm saying? These long, nice there, then pow, right up at the top. Bang! Just saying.
She's ready for prime time. But you know who's not ready for prime time? Kirk Cousins. My man Day says, are you trading Trey for Kirk or Rodgers? Kirk Cousins? Are you kidding me? Let's talk about it. We talked about the Rodgers thing real quick. We gotta entertain this Kirk Cousins thing. So it was the great Mike Florio. He loves to create storm and gossip and rumors and tea. He loves it, especially for the 49ers. So he said that during the combine that there was a lot of, heated up conversations about the 49ers trading for Kirk Cousins. And that would include Trey Lance going to Minnesota, the 49ers to get Kirk Cousins, because they don't know if Brock Purdy's going to be back. So obviously it gives Kyle, a guy he's been connected to many times. He coached him when he was with Washington, and they're saying, oh, the 49ers may want to trade for Kirk Cousins. I obviously, I think that has a little bit more weight than Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers, that is 100% smoke. But Kirk Cousins and Kyle, they do have some history, and we all joke that, oh, Kirk Cousins, or if Kyle Shanahan had the opportunity to get Kirk Cousins, he would. But I don't think, again, I just don't see this manifesting, because again, there's money, and I think that's the issue. We talked about that earlier with the salary cap space. You got, Brandon Ayuk, you got to eventually pay Nick Bosa, so it doesn't make sense. And I think they are banking on 2 young quarterbacks that can be paid very cheaply because they're both on rookie quarterback contracts, and you can build the rest of your team. So I don't think there's any weight to it. I don't think they will trade to it, but I do think that, yeah, maybe Kyle did talk to people during the combine and mentioned his name. I'm sure the name was dropped. Like, oh yeah, Kirk Cousins to the Niners. But what do you guys think, Ted?
I mean, I think before they knew the outcome for Brock's, surgery, it's one of these weird surgeries where we had 3 potential outcomes. It was a 6-month, 9-month, 12 to 18-month type of options. And before we knew, I'm sure they were kind of kicking the tires and putting an oar in to see which way the currents were flowing, if you will, an oar in the water, I should say. So I think there's some interesting parallels to Trey Lance and Cousins with RG3 at Washington, where basically that was sort of like the Dan Snyder pick or his dad's pick, Mike, and Kyle, wanted Cousins in the 4th round as an insurance policy. So now it's interesting that he could still be an insurance policy if Trey doesn't work out. I don't see it happening, but again, it's one of those things that's going to be talked about incessantly until we get our quarterback situation sorted, until Brock's healthy and slinging it, or Trey Lance has, shown that he can improve to his ceiling or closer to his ceiling.
What you think, Ryan?
Kirk Cousins, 49ers, if the 49ers are going to trade Kirk Cousins for Trey Lance, the 49ers, Jed York would be asking for, I'm guessing, probably $800 million from the loan to get the money. Because what is it?
$120 million for the stadium.
It'd probably be $800,000 because you have to put a roof on. You have to put a roof on it on. How am I
Levi's.
missing the name on Levi's? Because you can't. How are you gonna let people die in the stands? This is the thing. You can't ask the NFL to not have afternoon games, but yet not have primetime games because you've got Kirk Cousins. So you're going to have to put a roof on it. Okay. So the evening games are out of the questions. You're going to need more money for the roof. So to me, he didn't ask for the 800,000. This is not talk. This is nothing. They're not talking. It's math. It's math. 120,000 ain't going to get it done. They're spending that on the booths. They don't care about you dying in the stands. Okay.
I'm not dying in the stands watching Kirk Cousins. I love it because we don't have the roof, because we know he's not built for prime time. We can't get Kirk Cousins. That was probably the best answer I've heard with this whole situation. There it is. We're not getting Kirk because we don't have a roof over our head at Levi Stadium. And because of that, we can't afford to have Kirk Cousins losing primetime games. Do you want to see us lose another Super Bowl? Absolutely not. Can you imagine Kirk Cousins and the Niners get to Super Bowl, and then what happens? Kirk Cousins shows up and we lose it because he's not ready for primetime. I would lose every ounce of – I would lose it. I would just go on a tirade. I'd sit here live and just wreck shop. It would probably be the highest viewed video on YouTube. Also, I would go wild. Oh my God. Oh man.
Make sure to subscribe to No Border Sports for more hot takes like that.
Yeah.
Boom. Get it out there.
Oh, man, we're coming up on an hour, guys. I'm gonna open this up real quick. We got about 10 more minutes. Let's see if anybody has any questions. We'll get to some questions, although we've been kind of following the chat pretty good. Shout out to the chat today. You guys were great. Ted, man, appreciate you for hopping in. Ryan, man, appreciate you for hopping in. This was a fun show. Three amigos, man. It's like the three amigos. This was fun, you know.
I think it worked out better, like with how much real viable news hasn't been out there lately. Like I said before this, I think it's way better having 3 people than just me and Raj chewing over a topic, or you and Raj just chewing over a topic. You know what I mean? For an hour.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you both for having me on. It's always a pleasure.
Always welcome, man. We can make the, you come on whenever if you got time, hop in. It's fun to discuss. We got 3 guys. Sometimes somebody says something that maybe the other guy doesn't. That's a good point. So always fun.
It's unusual for me to have evening time, but my mom took my son for the night, and then that normally means it's date night, so I still wouldn't be able to come on with you guys. But my wife is sick too, so it was like this kind of perfect storm that allowed me to be on past my usual
kind of
daddy hours.
It
No,
was
no, I
sneezed
know.
in her
pretty
face.
sick, but-
He had this
Yeah,
plan.
but-
He sneezed in her face yesterday. He's like,
3 days ago.
going
no,
on live with
was planning
Raj.
ahead.
Yeah.
I was
I gotta go
planning
live with
ahead.
Raj. Like,
My
Shoot,
son and
there you
I
go,
did.
babe.
My son and I did have it first too.
Mom,
That's the
Mom,
truth.
Yeah,
I need
see?
you to watch this. I need you to watch the kid today. I'm going live with fucking Raj.
Yeah, she's sick. Come get the kid. You're going live. Mom.
Hashtag priorities. You know.
Yeah. Oh man, that's good stuff. But appreciate you guys, man. But yeah, it was good stuff. Again, last couple things I want to say is it was nice to see Trey Lance out there. Obviously he's been throwing. About a month ago he posted on his Instagram story like, I'm looking for receivers to throw to. So in a month, you can just tell like he probably has been doing this for a month now, and I feel like he's made progress. I know it's a small little clip, but man, it just was nice to see that spiral. I was like, wow. Again, it was one clip. I'm sure he threw it hundreds of times. It probably wasn't always a pretty pass, but that pass that he had was beautiful, man. I was like, okay, it's nice. So a month of training. Well, I can't wait to see what a couple more months does.
And that one had touch on it.
He did.
That one had touch
just
on
looks
it.
hungry. He just looks hungry, man. God, he just seems so hungry to me.
Could of all Kyle and John Lynch's talk, are they just throwing coals underneath Trey? They're like, here's a bag of lump coal. Just throw that underneath him. Here's some lump coal, another bag of lump coal. And Trey's just like, all right, Sam Darnold. Oh, I feel so sorry for Sam. Like, like when I was played football, I had a guy in my position that they wanted to start over me who was about 160 pounds at defensive end. Right. So every day when we do the root hog or whatever, you'd line up with somebody who is in your same position and you go heads up with them. I put that guy in the ground every single day because I had to remind the coach, are you really going to be that stupid? Like, yeah, he's a junior. I'm a senior. You don't have a very big senior class. Yes, this guy is going to be playing for you next year, but he's on the ground every day. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's a good point, Ryan. I feel like maybe this is their way of motivating him to get the most out of him because he has, this opportunity to seize his moment. And they know because he was the number 3 pick, like the time's running out for him to prove himself. And like Ted said earlier, like right now I can't really say he's a bust yet because we haven't really seen it. This is his moment to show that he is not a bust, because if he goes out there and he shits the bed, then yes, he's absolutely a bust. And they don't want to go and tell the world like we drafted another bust because they have plenty of them right now. They have had plenty of busts. They don't want another one. So absolutely, I think this is a motivation tactic. And it's not the first time they've done it. Look how tough Kyle Shanahan. He put Brandon Ayuk in the doghouse. And now Brandon Ayuk's their best receiver. So absolutely, Ryan. Absolutely. This is a motivation tactic, I feel like. Low key, I feel like. So I don't know. Ted, your take on this last thought that Ryan had.
Pressure makes diamonds, right? Or burst pipes. But I think he's a diamond. I think Trey is a diamond in the rough.
I love it.
There's a little difference between there. You're talking about compressing carbon and pressure with water and pipes. It's
just what they say. I don't know.
I like pressure makes diamond, and Trey Lance could be the next diamond. I love it, Ted. I like those cheesy ass things that
I'm Captain Cheesy.
I know that because that's me. I'm Captain Hype Beast out there on Twitter. I was like, oh, pressure make diamonds. Oh, Trey Lance. I was trying to come up with some corny caption when I posted that video today. When I saw it, what did I say? I said Trey Lance is on a mission. Come on, man. That's so fucking cool.
Bro, you need Ted on a speed dial.
I know,
but you got to get it out quick. Sometimes fast
That's
is
why
better
it's
than
speed
than
dial.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit you up because this was my caption on the video. Trey Lance is on a mission this offseason. Oh, mission!
I'm on there. I said, oh yeah.
There you go.
I'm on a mission from God. We're getting
God
a band back
that video,
together.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it, man. Trey's in the bag. He's in the
Blues
grind,
Brothers.
Man. That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
Trey Lance, my man,
Classic.
Young Montana says Trey Lance is a diamond, 10 out of 10, 100%, man.
Raj, you ever seen Blues Brothers?
Oh yeah, of course, man.
Okay.
Rest in peace to Mr. Belushi. Right.
Yeah. Hey, he wandered. He got pissed off at the director. Wandered off set in the middle of the making. When they're doing the chase around the neighborhood and then they go into the mall.
Yes, sir.
So he walks off set, gets all pissed off. They can't find him for hours. Next thing you know, They knock on the door and they're like, hey, and he's like, he's in here. Right. And they're like, huh? And they go in and he's passed out on the couch. So what happened was he just walks onto somebody's house. He knocks on the door. When they open the door, he looks at him and says, you know who I am. He walks in, makes himself a sandwich from everything in the fridge, eats it, passes out on the couch.
What? That's crazy. That's savage, man. That's a savage move right there.
He was hardcore for sure.
Boss move, man.
Minnie the Moocha. She was a low down hoochie coocha. That's one of my favorite songs, Minnie the Moocher. Shout out Cab Calloway.
There we go. Here we go. Any last minute? Real quick. Okay, Ted. What you got working on this week? You got anything left going on this week? I know you said.
Yeah, I got a couple things tomorrow. I got Zane coming on tomorrow morning at 10.
Okay.
And then I got the Mike Andrews at 1 o'clock p.m. So
that's nice.
That's a big one. Yeah. So that's a big one. I was waiting to like reveal. I listed him as a mystery guest all week, and this afternoon I made my thumbnail and revealed who it was. So
very good.
Excited.
Very good.
Yeah.
Nice. Ryan.
And I have a Warriors one tomorrow afternoon with Nat, who's great. But this is more of a Niners audience.
Warriors. It's almost NBA. It's almost playoff time, man. I'm excited.
Wiggins is back.
I know. I kind of want to go to that Warriors Kings game tomorrow. I'm talking myself into going to buy last minute tickets, but it's in Sacktown, so I'd have to leave work and drive up to Sacktown. But
it's big for the Warriors,
and they're not good on the road this year.
Because here's the deal: everybody's saying, "Oh, you want the 6th seed so you can duck the Suns." And it's like, yeah, we don't want to play Kevin Durant first, but you got to remember, then you also play the Nuggets after that, who had the most wins in the Western Conference. So it's Suns Nuggets and rather than Kings and Grizz. And so that's a big difference in both of those opponents.
The Kings are good, but they're young, inexperienced. I think you can knock them out that first round. I don't know. It's gonna be fun, man. I'm excited.
It'll depend on Wiggins to me. I mean, he looks like he's lost a lot of weight. So
I'm sure, man. I'm just glad he's back and he's in good spirits. But good to have him back. To me, my guy, GP2. That's my guy. Yes. I'm glad he's.
That's who's on my solo Warriors overlay.
I love that.
When Roscoe's was asking me, he's like, "You want Draymond? And he's your favorite, or you want Steph?" And I was like, I'm kind of turning into a GP2 guy. So it's crazy.
That's it, man. I definitely feel though that Sack's gonna be tough tomorrow because the Warriors on the road. Definitely a sketchy situation. Ryan, what you got cooking this weekend, man?
Defense optional.
What you got cooking?
Well, first thing, basketball sucks since the Sonics were gone.
I love the Sonics. They're cool.
Just
Gary Payton Sr., EP2's dad, and
he's a piece of shit of a person. I know people.
And Sean Kemp.
Well,
tell us how you really don't hold back, Ryan.
Well, no, I know multiple people. I knew a chick who was probably, sleeping with some of the basketball players, and she told me he was a piece of crap. And then my homeboy, aka Rusty Knuckles, who used to, who Macklemore is? So Macklemore and his group opened up for my homeboy Chris homeboy Rusty Knuckles.
Did he do that thrift shop song?
No, this is way before. He was in a group with other guys, and then he opened up for my homie's group, Technique Speaks. You know what I'm saying? So this goes back. And so when Chris was out front of a grocery store, I think in Bellevue or Kirkland, I think it might have been Kirkland. He comes out and there's like there's BMW, and he's like, "Oh, that's a dope ride." And then Gary Payton comes out, is like, "Get the F away from my car, little kid." And my buddy's like, "Hey, that's Gary Payton." And he's like, "F off, you do." And he's like, "Man, wow. You trash." That's what he said. He says, "You're trash." He walked away.
Wow, crazy.
And those are nice neighborhoods too. That's not like,
oh, bro, there's more millionaires per capita in Bellevue.
Nice.
There's more millionaires per capita in Bellevue. In fact,
I had a roommate in college from there. It was a very nice neighborhood.
Russell Wilson used to live in the top penthouse of, what the name of the apartments? But there was a Neiman Marcus in the basement of the apartment complex, and my homegirl had the apartment across from it. It was like a level lower, and it was across. There was 2 towers. It's crazy stuff. I was like, "Hey, Russell Wilson lives there."
Wow.
Pre-Sierra, I'm guessing.
Oh, it was pre-Sierra, yes.
Crazy. All
Yeah,
right.
I got a 5-hour call-in show tomorrow. Starts at 5
Nice.
o'clock. Hit me up. We got the normal
Shocking, right,
suspect.
Raj?
5
We
hours.
got it went with 6 the other like 2 weeks ago. We went 6.
Wow.
Got Bryant Colt,
This guy-
David McNiner. Sometimes Beto comes in there. We should have 49ers cap in there for about an
Jason
hour and a
Hurley.
half
Oh,
tomorrow.
Jason Hurley. Okay, nice.
Yeah. So come in and get your questions answered.
There we go.
That's
Get some
awesome.
questions.
Yeah.
Hop on Ryan's channel and answer them away. Get some cap space questions. That guy Ryan.
He's the
guru.
marathon man of long shows.
Yes,
Like
sir.
I was watching one time, I fell asleep. I woke back up and he's still going. I'm like, holy smokes.
Yeah. Nathan says Ryan's call-in show is fire. So check it out. If you
There you
guys
go.
got
Hey.
need something to do Friday night, check out Ryan's show.
He's watched
He's
watched every single minute. He's watched every single minute. I'm not like when there's nobody left, there's still Nathan Z left.
Let's
Just
go,
saying.
Nathan. What a supporter, man. Shout out to Nathan.
That's
Shout out
awesome.
to the chat. I hope you guys have a good rest of your night. Trey Lance. He's back, ladies
Trey.
and gentlemen. Have a good night. We out.
Go Niners.